All right, we're ready to get going. Sorry that took me so long.
Oh, don't even worry, Will. I forgot that Kevin was away.
Yeah,
Do you want to sort of do the introduction about the technical side of things?
absolutely. Yes. So let me pull that up. All right, well, welcome everybody. If this is your first time joining us for one of our virtual committee meetings, or maybe just the first time you're joining us in a long time, here are a few little rules of the road for interacting in the meeting as we go throughout the agenda. You'll notice currently that you are muted, and everybody is muted except for our co-chairs, Jane and David, and any presenters as we move through the agenda. Following each presentation, the co-chairs will call on members of the public who wish to speak. You can participate by going to the reactions icon on your device and pressing the raise hand button. It's not the wave or the thumbs up, as those will disappear. Only press the raise hand button once. If you press it a second time, your hand will go back down. If you're calling in from the phone, it is *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute whenever you're called on. Be on the lookout for a prompt asking you to confirm unmuting once one of the co-chairs calls on you. If you're having problems with Zoom, the chat is available for technical support to help with the Zoom software. It is not to ask questions of the presenters or the co-chairs. They will never see those chats. If you're using an older version of Zoom, you'll need to go to the participant section, or you might find the raise hand feature there. And finally, we encourage you not to raise your actual hand or wave at the screen to get our attention. If you're having any problems, chat me. I'm here for support. And with that, we hand it over to Jane and we get the meeting started.
Thank you very much, Will. Good evening. This is the December meeting of the Landmarks Committee of Community Board 8. We have two applications to hear tonight. We will hear, as Will said, we'll hear from the applicant, then we'll go to the public, then we'll go into executive session and formulate a resolution to be presented to our full board on this coming Wednesday evening. We are here to vote on the context and appropriateness of each application within the historic district. With that, we're going to get started. The first application is 935 Park Avenue, the Park Avenue Historic District, Walter Sadovic Architects. This is an application for a new pergola and railing at the upper penthouse roof, new stairs from the lower penthouse roof to the upper penthouse roof, and the removal of the existing pergola on the lower penthouse roof. Is the architect here, is Walter Sadovic here?
He is. I'm going to
Oh, I
ask you
see
to
him.
unmute Walter. And if there's anybody else you would like to be unmuted from your team, go ahead and just tell us.
Thank you.
Did you want to do a screen share also?
I do.
Okay.
You should be able to share your screen right now.
Can everybody see?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And thank you for your punctuality and your precision in getting the meeting underway. We're happy to be back in front of you. I'm Walter Sedovic, the principal of Walter Sedovic Architects. I'm joined by my partner, Jill Gotthelf. I'll be doing the speaking principally this evening. And we're here representing the owners of the penthouse of 935 Park Avenue, Mr. and Mrs. Katz, Philip and Nancy. I want to start out with a contextual statement. This is the pergola in its presented proposed form. The simple comment that terraces like this lend a garden effect to the overall design of buildings that front Park Avenue and other avenues like it. You don't have to take my word for that. I'm paraphrasing a quote that appeared in the Herald Tribune in 1930 by the principal of an architectural firm, Schwartz and Gross. That principal, Arthur Gross, made several comments about a law just emerging at that time. In essence, said that this new law enables us to provide a greater number of setbacks and more expansive use of the popular terrace style of construction on Park Avenue and the avenues fronting Central Park. These terraces originally were intended to be leafy havens for city dwellers, in keeping with the overarching design ideals that would define singular New York City neighborhoods like Park Avenue, and currently its historic district, that were emerging in the 1920s and the 1930s. That is, this form of building enhances the original DNA of Park Avenue. And there's his quote. The article appears here for your own reading. In 1891, the most current Sanborn map predating the building, the site opened or is indicated as an open lot. The building, as you've noted in your summary for this agenda, was constructed in 1923 to 24 and completed then. And it's a majestic building at the corner of 81st and Park Avenue, a phenomenal bookend for this block of buildings. Here in its various iterations in tax maps and in the designation of the historic district. These are some contextual views of the site, along with view sheds up and down Park Avenue, satellite image, and looking west on 81st Street. This is the current view of the original penthouse, the penthouse roof, the two left photos, and the terrace at the entrance level of the penthouse, which effectively creates a C shape around the penthouse itself. It's hugged by the parapet walls of the building. Mr. and Mrs. Katz are prodigious landscape lovers, and the lower terrace is well and beautifully planted and maintained. It's important to note that we're not alone in the promotion of a rooftop terrace, however subtle it is. There are numerous terraces up and down Park Avenue, but on our block alone, we're at 935. There are terraces that exist, planted terraces that exist at 969 Park Avenue, 941 on the other side of the street, at 920 Park, 960, and also 970. So we're effectively in good company, not only with the development of this planted pergola and terrace, but with its scale and mode. These are requisite images of views up and down the two principal streets bordering 935 Park. This is a viewscape walking from the west to the east along 81st Street, noted on the map in the lower right-hand corner. And this begins a walking tour from the north on Park Avenue down to the south, effectively 1.5 to 2 blocks in both directions. You'll see that we know that there's great consistency along Park Avenue. The view of a person who is 5 feet 10 inches tall is shown here in 2 ways. From Park Avenue across the street, the longest view possible. At a normal pitch of one's head, you're looking at about the midpoint of the facade of the building at about the 8th story. If you tilt your head back, the view of the terrace is completely truncated by the parapet. There is effectively no view from Park Avenue. Likewise for 81st Street, where the road is even narrower. These are the scale facade images. The west or front facade facing Park Avenue. The first image at the top shows the existing pergola to the left. That's being dismantled. To the right is the addition of a railing and a pergola that fairly much aligns with the water tower. On the north facade, similarly, we show the water tower, the elevator machine rooms that are pre-existing, and the interposition of a new rail and the pergola in the upper right in the last view. These are views from the secondary facades, the west and the south, which are not inconsequential, but you really can't see them from virtually anywhere. And delineated views, a little more detail and closer up, showing the arrangement of the west facade as it exists. And thankfully, we have an extension in the west facade that was approved by this community board a number of years ago that has turned into a very successful and beautiful project. So the expanded version of the rails on either side, and likewise on the east facade. Shows the arrangement on the north facade, which has the effectively the pedestrian stair. On the flip side, we've exchanged a ship's ladder that hugs the wall to a stringer and stair for the specific purpose of maintaining the rooftop equipment. That's separated in essence from the, let's call it, the more pedestrian areas of the pergola, which you'll see in a moment.
Before you continue, Walter, I just hope you're going to give us some dimensions.
Yes, I think they'll become a little more apparent when we see the design in full view.
Okay, because it's sort of confusing right at the moment.
Mm-hmm. It'll make more sense in a moment.
Thank you.
Want to make sure you have the lay of the land, basically the extent to which you see whether
well,
or
just
not.
to backtrack, I'm just looking at the image right in front of us. The top image is the existing. How high is the existing penthouse?
It's about 12 feet.
Okay. And then in the second slide below, you're showing the railing, the staircase, the new staircase, the new railing, and a terrace which is already there. Is there a terrace already there or no?
The rooftop is already there.
The rooftop, but you're converting the rooftop into a terrace. Is that correct?
Right. We're proposing to effectively install a rail around the perimeter of the terrace, around the perimeter of the roof at that level to create a terrace.
I get it. And how high is that rail?
42 inches.
High.
which is, and the balusters are at 4 inches on center. Those two dimensions are regulated for safety purposes. So those are both not only safe height, but safe dimension so that a child's head can't get stuck between the balusters. And the pergola itself, the height of the pergola to the underside is 10 feet.
And the pergola is going to be on the new terrace, which is formerly the roof.
That's correct.
Okay.
And the roof is under the jurisdiction of the penthouse owners. So we're not encumbering any of the other real estate relative to the building on the whole. This is all part and parcel to the penthouse.
Okay.
And it lands on the existing terrace, which also belongs solely to the penthouse.
But right now, that proposed new terrace is actually part of the roof of the building. The penthouse owner owns that part of the roof.
That's correct.
Okay. And the pergola, what are the dimensions of the pergola? Oh, I see it right there.
Yes. It's approximately 12 feet wide and 16 feet deep. It's about 10 feet high to the underside of the...
Just backtrack. It's 12 feet high times
12 feet wide.
12 feet wide.
By approximately 16 feet deep.
Okay. And then what was the other...
and it's about 10 feet to the underside of the cross members.
Okay. So it's 10 feet high.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Okay.
The rail elements are all steel. The columns for the pergola are steel. That's to ensure fireproof construction at this level. The cross beams and purlins are wood. The top rail is wood, and the stair treads are wood, although the stringer for the stair treads is steel. And so it's a very simple affair in terms of its component parts, and very much in keeping with the vocabulary for the rest of the building. The overlay that you're looking at there, we're providing a new roof membrane for the entirety of the penthouse. These are panelized systems that are designed specifically for the roof membrane system, and a sedum roof, that's not grass or anything that has to be cut or manicured, but rather a sedum mat that's rolled out, lightweight but anchored to the roof. And it does several things at once. The plantings within the sedum mat are indigenous plants to New York State, so they thrive on rainfall. They don't require any fertilizer. They don't require any additional watering. They lower the temperature of the solar gain on the building, so they are a very fine, excellent benefit actually for heat reduction and enhanced energy performance. And they provide a pretty relief area for people who are walking up on that area. The terrace pavers are prefabricated wooden panels that produce the walking paths, and that is effectively it in terms of the materials. Everything that's grayed out is pre-existing, and this is the arrangement from every view shed.
Again, sorry to interrupt you. Could you just give us the dimensions of the terrace? It does look like it's sort of an L-shaped terrace. Is that correct?
Yeah, let me go back and show you the plan.
Oh, okay. That's it.
It is L-shaped, all of which currently exist. We're not modifying this in any way.
Right. You aren't
These are
changing the footprint at all, that's what you're saying.
not one bit.
Okay.
No, the water tower exists. It has always existed in that location. These are the mechanical machine rooms for the passenger and service elevators, and all other elements of the roof are staying exactly as they currently are.
Except for that part that will now become a garden terrace. And what are the dimensions of the garden terrace part of the existing rooftop, the proposed garden terrace that will take some of the existing roof to be created?
The areas beyond the pergola to the east and the west extend approximately 4 feet. So that makes them about 20 feet from point to point in terms of the rail from east to west. It also extends about 4 feet to the south beyond the columns of the pergola, and it extends about 10 feet to the north overall. So it's positioned so that there really is enough area to comfortably walk around or mill around, and a gathering space that generally is oriented to the west for sunsets, although that's not its exclusive purpose. There's access to the rear on the south side, just behind that close elevator machine room for mechanics who wish to come up and maintain the service equipment in any of these elements. They can do that safely, in fact, more safely than is currently possible. And again, the existing rooftop is either it's a new roof. It's either protected by panelized walking surface or a sedum mat. All of that is completely reversible and entirely code compliant in terms of all the considerations regarding the durability of the materials, the fireproof materials, and the uplift for wind considerations.
So the entire roof, part of which will become the new terrace, is going to have these new pavers on it, except for the part where you'll have the sedum mat.
That's correct.
Okay, so the whole, yeah, because in that image, it looks like you're putting down new pavers everywhere. But that part, which is the main part, enclosed by that railing, which looks to be more like a rectangle, what is the area of that? Because that to me seems like it is the most important part of what's happening on the roof. The pergola with the railing going around it.
And you're asking what the materials are?
No, I'm asking you exactly what the dimensions are of that area, if you know the dimensions.
Of the overall area that's enclosed by the rail?
Not, well, where the pergola is. You know, it looks like if a rectangle.
Right, that's about 12 by 16 feet.
Okay, that's great. 12 feet by, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So that's where I assuming is the area of the proposed terrace garden. That includes the pergola, the sedum mat, and the railing going around it.
That's correct. That's correct.
And 12 feet by 16 feet. Okay.
And also, I misspoke. The panelized system is not a wooden system. The other elements are wooden. The panelized paver system is actually concrete pavers.
Okay. And is that your presentation?
It is. There is. I will show one more time that while we don't always seek to make projects like this invisible, it is in fact not visible from the street, with one tiny exception that I'll show you. The pre-existing pergola in the southwest corner, or the northwest corner, again, is being removed. Our pergola is here but can't be seen. And I'll show you the one exception where it is somewhat visible, which is right here. You can see in our mock-up. But from the street in vicinity of the building, it's entirely not visible, only to the residents of the penthouse.
So it's minimally visible from which point?
It's not visible from any point except for about a block plus, where you can see the street sign for 80th Street. So we're a little past that, little south of 80th Street, and it's minimally visible right there.
Okay, so you're saying it's minimally visible from south of 80th Street, just a little corner of it.
Just a little corner of it. Okay. Everything else, from every other vantage point, it is not visible at all.
Okay. Is that your presentation?
It is.
Okay, very good. Will, could you just check to see whether any members of the public are here?
So this is a reminder that if you would like to engage on this and make a comment, ask a question, you need to go into the reactions icon on your screen and press the raise hand button. I'm going to give it a couple of seconds before I say that there are no members of the public who have raised their hand. So Jane, we can go to
the committee, perhaps in alphabetical order.
Committee in alphabetical order. So that starts with Elizabeth Ashby. Go ahead.
Thank you for a more than thorough presentation. And I think that it is a very attractive proposal. And a lot of the things we won't consider, I don't believe, because unless you're a pigeon, you're not going to be looking at the floor. But I think it's well done, well balanced. And pergolas seem to be the thing these days. And I think this is quite an attractive one. And I don't have very high standards here. If you can't see it, I don't require you be quite so correct. But I think that this is an attractive proposal, and I can support it.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Up next, we have Gilbert.
Thank you very much for your presentation, and I have no questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, after that is Michelle Birnbaum.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good presentation. A question. From 81st Street, the slight part that can be seen, how many feet is that above the railing? The visible portion.
Approximately 4.5 to 5 feet.
And the pergola is 10 feet to the underside.
That's correct.
If you brought that down, well, let me put it this way. Has there been any consideration of reducing the height of the pergola?
We did actually reduce it somewhat to the level that is consistent with the height of the other spaces within. So there's sort of a marriage between the pergola and the interior of the penthouse itself, so that there's some parity between the two. You walk out of the enclosed spaces into an exterior space, and they have the relative same feel of floor to ceiling ratio. That was really the predominant issue. I can show you again the location where it's marginally visible, and right there.
I thought you said that was south of 80th Street.
It is south of 80th Street.
Okay, thank you. So it's not 81st Street.
I thought this was the view from 81.
No, that's from below 80th Street. It's about a third of the way down the block between 79th and 80th.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's the south end of the building towards Park Avenue.
That's correct.
Yeah. I don't have a real objection to it, but I have to say I wouldn't mind. 10 feet is rather high. And if it went to 8 or 9 feet, I don't think it would have a negative impact on its use or aesthetics as viewed from the roof itself. And yet it would bring it down a couple of feet to make it less visible. In the state that it is now, where it is very, very sparsely planted, that probably will not be the case as the years go by. I imagine this will be covered with ivy, both going up and down the support poles and across the roof. And to that extent, it will present as an almost solid structure. So that being the case, which I believe it will be, I would recommend that this be shorter. I don't know how that's going to affect my vote, but that would be my concern. I have one other question. The partition that you have between the north end of the pergola's empty space, you have sort of like a low stone ridge or brick ridge, on the other side of which is a grassy-like substance. That looks like it's open. Is that a grill or anything, or just a partition wall?
You're very perceptive. That's a pre-existing early flue, but it's largely inactive.
But it will remain?
Yes.
Okay, remain and not be used.
Correct.
Okay. Anyway, that's my suggestion. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. I should ask too if we could unmute my partner Jill Gotthelf in case she has comments that would help illuminate some of these discussions.
Let me also confirm, make sure I'm not missing anything, that nothing else about the structure of this entire penthouse on either the bottom floor or the top floor, nothing else is under consideration, correct? No window changes, no dimension changes, nothing.
That is absolutely correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
After Michelle, we have Alita Camp.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. It looks like it will be a lovely garden, but I have to agree with Michelle that the pergola is too high. And as it is visible, I'd have to suggest that even if it is not the same sense of space as in the interior, that it be a better sense for the public and anyone looking up at that. And if your clients are the kinds of gardeners that you mentioned that they will want to have tall plants climbing up the columns and across the top. And if you've seen wisteria or some other viney type plant, it goes all over the place. So I would say lower it, and then I would be pleased, and then I would be able to support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, after Alita, we have Anthony.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Well, I agree with Alita and Michelle that that the pergola is too tall. I'm not entirely convinced that you wouldn't be able to see the corner of the new stair, the sort of round part that bulges beyond the building from the north. Um, uh, I I get what you're trying to do, and I normally think that these kind of structures are okay. But I'm not absolutely sure how I'm going to vote for this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Let
you.
me clarify one thing for you, Mr. Cohn. In fact, this stair is not visible, although I would agree with you, it's surprisingly not. The requirement, it may not be so clear here, but Landmarks does require, you already know, the mock-up to be painted in a very 1950s rendition of sort of vermilion. So it's unmistakable against the blue sky, which is a good thing. And truly, these are all images with our mock-up in place. There is absolutely nothing visible. Again, what we're looking at in the inside corner is a pre-existing pergola that will be disassembled, but there is nothing else that's visible from that perspective, even several blocks away.
The
Okay.
curve of the stair is actually included in the mock-up that's in place right now. So the entire railing is mocked up as well as the pergola.
Okay, that's the lower line in those places where we can see it.
Exactly. The railing is
Okay,
mocked up
got it.
and the pergola. So absolutely everything is mocked up the full extent of it so that you could clearly see everything.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Alita, did you have a follow-up question?
I did, thank you. Is there any chance that when the pre-existing pergola comes down, that something would be visible that's not necessarily visible now because it's blocked?
Did you accidentally?
Is there a chance? I would hesitate to say that there is no chance. However, we're not the only set of eyes that were looking at this when the mock-up was in place, and nobody was able to view a glimpse. That is to say, the staff at Landmarks were not able to view a glimpse of that pink frame through the pergola. The pergola wasn't entirely blocking the view. You could see through it at the time the mock-up was in place.
The mock-up is still the mock-up. Yeah, the mock-up is still in place. The pergola right now, the lower pergola is not heavily planted, so visibility is there. The top of the pergola aligns with the bottom of the platform of that curved stair coming through. So the existing mock-up of the railing of that curve is above the rooftop of that pergola. So when the pergola comes down, you would see, if you saw anything, it would be the corner of the pre-existing penthouse where the pergola is, because the railing and the curve right now are above the top of the existing pergola and are mocked up above the top of it.
Because the pergola, it reads as though the pergola and the fencing or the railing are the same color, so it would be easy to have them blend into each other.
The railing mock-up is pink, and the existing pergola is wood.
Okay, I'm just looking at the.
Yeah, it's very bright pink.
Okay.
Yeah, the existing mock-up is pink. It goes all the way around.
But yet we don't actually know. It's just hard to evaluate because, as you said, you can't say with 100% certainty that it's not visible. I understand all of your arguments for why it would not be, but it's kind of hard to tell with that structure still there. Anyway, thank you. And
You're welcome. Thank you.
Will, for pointing it out and to Jane.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, I think we're on to Marco Tamayo from the committee, unless I have missed somebody.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Uh, Let me start. Basically, the scope of work is the railing and the relocation of the pergola. It's very simple, the application. And the problem is, what I found that you try to enhance your presentation and you went beyond that. And that probably doesn't help you at all. That's my impression. How tall is the building, or how many stories has the building?
It's 16 stories plus the penthouse.
So basically, you're talking about the people start looking 160 feet or 170 feet to the height in order to determine that the pergola is too high. And I think that is unfair against you because look, at that height, it's impossible to determine if the height is well proportioned or not. However, I'm going to ask the question, what determined the height of the pergola? What was your analysis or your point of view to propose 10 feet?
It really came down to proportions of the size of the pergola and the comfort standing underneath it. It was our feeling at the lower height when they, asking it to come down to 8 feet to the underside, that for a space on a terrace, given the proportions of the pergola and the members of the pergola, that it felt very top heavy and enclosed, as opposed to a pergola, which is supposed to be a garden and air. And bringing it up to the 10 feet proportionately worked with the size of the rafters and the comfort standing within it.
Thank you. I think the only thing probably I will comment, if it's possible, is just only the dimensions of the column. The column, the higher the column, the moment of inertia increase. And that basically you have structural problems. Looking at the graphic, it looks like these columns are too thin. And basically you will have lateral loads over there. And well, in any event, you are responsible, it's your decision, it's your design. And I find that this is a very simple application. I do not have a problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tamayo.
All right. Moving on to Jane, remind me, do you want to do board members?
Is Kimberly here tonight?
Yeah, Kimberly is here. So committee, public members, and then board members.
Thanks, Will. Thank you, Jane. My one question is purely out of curiosity. The existing pergola, do you know when it was reviewed by Landmarks and thereafter built?
It pre-existed the district. It's in the tax map photo from when it's in the district photo. If you go back, you can see it in the district photos. So it never went before Landmarks because this wasn't a landmark district.
Got it. Okay. Thank you very much.
Will, if there are no comments, I don't know.
We have one other board member who's here, and it's Abraham Salcedo.
Okay.
Then it's you guys.
Thank you for the presentation. Very well done. The only thing I would have liked or echoed is what Alita said, that I would have preferred if the height of the pergola were a little lower so that it did not was not visible from the street level, but otherwise I think it's a very nice rendering and well done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Salcedo.
Oh, Michelle, is this a follow-up point? Yes, okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to make the point for clarification that the district was declared in 2014. So if that puts some context there for you. And the other point I wanted to make is the height of 10 feet is to the underside of the roof of the pergola. So it looks like it's a very thin, but we don't have the dimension. Is that a couple of inches or a foot? You can't really tell from here. So I'm not sure how much additional height there is because, as we said, the 10 feet is to the underside. I think it's a little too high. Can you clarify that? How much? how much the actual roof adds to the height.
Let's have a look and see if I can this might help.
The 10.6 is to, if you go down, Walter, the 10.6 is to the top of the main structural elements, and it's just below the upper purlin. So the 10.6 is right. It's exactly. It's to the top of the larger structural members. So just the small purlins sit on top of that, and I believe they are 2 by the rafters. Or can you?
By 10.
Well, that's the main rafters.
So how wide are the rafters? I think that's the question.
Well, those rafters, the wider rafters, the 10.6 is to the top of those.
Oh, okay. So the overall
so it's
height
10.5 feet.
6 inches. Okay.
Yes,
So
correct.
So
it's 6 inches above it's 6 inches above for the open lattice rafters.
Well, let me just sum up. Thank you. No, I understand. So it's 10.5 feet. Let me reaffirm what I said earlier. When this gets fully planted out, it will present higher than that. We're looking at it in your graphic. It's very scantily planted. That won't be the case over the years. So I would really hope, I don't think it would change the functionality or the pleasure and enjoyment for your clients for this to come down about 2 feet, and it would give them 8.5 feet to the top of the roof. So I'm not telling you how to design, but I think that would be a more comfortable situation for me, because it will still be visible, because as you said, what's visible now is 4.5 to 5 feet. So if you bring it down to, it's going to be visible 2.5 to 3 feet, which is significant. So, especially since the color will not blend in, because it will be greenery or flowers or whatever you're proposing for the paint of the support beams. So I would like to see it lower. Thank you.
So I should clarify a few things in that regard. I understand exactly what you're suggesting about the ability to plant the pergola to excess, or if it were planted with something like wisteria that has a tendency to grow in abundance, even though it drops its flowers down, it still grows upward. So we're in total agreement there. However, I will say that is not the objective. The objective is not to overly plant the pergola. I just want to make that point very clear. So this isn't somehow a surreptitious move. The second thing has to do with the height. I think that we could certainly discuss with ease and comfort lowering the overall height of the pergola, but I'm afraid we wouldn't get in the realm of 2 feet, because in the scheme of walking under this, even for a person who's approaching, say, 6 feet, that's going to put the beams just slightly above one's head, which I think would defeat the purpose of the sort of exuberance that's intended for being up on the roof with something of a shelter surrounding you, or at least a defining moment that people can gather under. Things start to feel very close very quickly, as you probably know from being in pavilions or other outdoor venues that are either too tall or too tight, too short. We did go through a study where this was actually taller, so we brought it back down significantly. It was smaller, that is to say, closer to the ground, and we moved it back up again because there is a distinct lack of comfort at some point that we all can feel and recognize. I'm not sure where that sweet spot might be to take into account your comments, which I think are very thoughtful. We certainly would be very pleased to look at the objective of lowering the height of this. I do want to point out, though, let me just get back
Well,
to
before you leave there, I did just want to say where Walter mentioned 4 feet. There's 4 feet from the top of the rail to the pergola. However, when you're standing at the street, you're not seeing a flat 4 feet sticking up above the roof because you're looking at it in perspective from the ground, looking up 100 and something feet in the air. So you're not actually seeing a flat 4 feet as you're thinking of 4 feet. You're actually, you're seeing a corner of it in perspective. So it goes to a height of 4 feet above the rail, but the area that you're seeing is not a straight flat 4 feet distance.
Thank you, Jill. I think we're going to go now to David Halpern.
My feeling is that the height of the pergola is appropriate. I think to drop it a foot, it would still be okay. I don't think it's going to be significant in terms of what you're going to see and not see from the street. And we have to vote on this as presented, unless they want to commit tonight to making it 9.6 instead of 10.6. But as presented, I think the proportions are fine. I think the amount of visibility is not great, and I have no problem supporting this. It's thought out, and as far as I can tell, a reasonable solution.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
I concur with David. I think we're quibbling over the height. This isn't a solid structure. It's a pergola, so it does have a lot of transparency. And as the applicant said, it's very minimally visible only from one vantage point, which is south on 81st Street, 81st Street, I think the applicant said.
80th, yeah.
I think that actually having some greenery there, even if it is minimal greenery, would be lovely. And I feel very strongly that we should support the application as presented. I think to lower the height makes it, as the applicant said, slightly claustrophobic for the people who might be gathering underneath it. But you want some airiness to it. It's a garden structure. So I would support the application. And as David made some very good points as well. Thank you. So does somebody want to introduce a resolution?
You have several hands up. Elizabeth Ashby, first up.
Yes, I just wanted to comment, and I will make a resolution to save other people. I think that the pergola reduced. I know people are thinking about whether you see a corner of it from the street. I don't think we want to make it look squat. And I think that taking it down, as a couple of other people have said, will make it look unattractive and squat. You probably could shave off an inch or two here and there, but I think it's more attractive as it is now. And I would like to make a motion to approve this application.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Yeah, Marco Tamayo.
Thank you. So I think we can go to a roll call and be sure to include Abraham.
All right, I will.
Since I don't think he's on our regular vote sheet.
He is not. Gail, did you have a quick question while I pull up the vote sheet? Gail Barron.
I do not. I was just trying to lower my hand, which doesn't want to lower.
All right. Okay. I hope you are all seeing the vote sheet now. Let's believe that that's true. So, starting with Elizabeth Ashby.
Yes.
Gail Barron,
Yes.
Michelle Birnbaum,
Yes.
Alita Camp.
Pass.
Okay. Sarah Chu is not here unless she's just snuck in. Nope. Okay. Anthony Cohn,
Yes.
David Halpern,
Yes.
Jane Parshall,
Yes.
Marco Tamayo,
Yes.
Christina Davis is not here. Kim,
Yes.
thank you. John left and Abraham.
Yes.
Beautiful. All right. Going back to the past, Alita Camp.
Well, I do think it should be shorter, but I'll just say yes anyway, I guess.
Thank you.
We'll see what happens Wednesday.
All right. That's
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to collaborate with you, and we love what you do for the district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next application, 735 Madison Avenue, Upper East Side Historic District, EPG Architecture, a no-style brick building designed by Anthony M. Pavia and constructed in 1959. Application is for new vinyl decals installed on the interior of storefront windows. Is the architect here? Somebody here from TPG?
Yes, Jacqueline Katchinis from TPG, and we also have Katie Kanakis also from TPG on.
Okay. So if you want to share your screen and
Yep. Can everyone see?
if you want to go into full screen mode, it may be a little easier for everyone to see, but
Oh, okay, hold on. Stop share for a second. That make it any better?
no, that's still the same, but I don't want to take everyone's valuable time on that.
well, it's not properly, at least on my screen.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I have as a corner of it, so let's try to
Oh,
get
really?
it correctly.
Yeah. Which program are you using?
I'm in Bluebeam.
Oof.
Oh wait,
yeah. View and then do
oh wait, I think actually it's window. This guy.
yeah, there you go.
Okay.
That's much easier to read, but you can still
Yeah.
make it a little larger and it would be helpful.
I think it's it just took a second to load.
Okay.
Is that getting a little better? Okay.
A lot better.
I'm actually gonna do Katie, sorry, how do you when you're in full screen, how do you tab to go to the next page? Because now my arrows are gone.
Left mouse button, I think. And then
Oh,
right
look.
takes you back.
Oh, I think it's because I did full screen, not presentation.
Yes. If you
Got
go
it.
back to window and hit presentation, I think is the one you might want.
There we go. Okay. Yep. There we go. Okay.
Oh,
Sorry.
that's so much better. Yeah.
Minor difficulties. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Katniss, and I am a project manager at TPG Architecture. We are working with Alexander McQueen on their upcoming project at 753 Madison Avenue. These are a few views of the exterior of the building today. And then this is the map of where we're located on 753 Madison Avenue. And then just a little background on Alexander McQueen. The House of Alexander McQueen is a renowned British fashion brand that was founded in 1992, and it's known for its innovative and uncompromising creativity and respect for time-honored craftsmanship. So Alexander McQueen has an existing store location at 747 Madison Avenue, which is, sorry. It's actually located right here, the existing store, and they are in the process of temporarily relocating to the corner location of 753 Madison Avenue, which is right on this corner and this corner here. The store will act only as a temporary location while Alexander McQueen designs a larger store further down on Madison Avenue. Alexander McQueen, they have secured their new lease of 753 Madison Avenue space and are currently in construction with an opening date for end of this month. And the brand is kindly requesting to install brand-inspired graphics on the exterior storefront windows. And I'm just going to flip a few slides over so you can see the full renderings. These are the graphics. These graphics are designed with creative and organic shapes meant to lure customers into the store with its compelling design appeal. And as you can see, majority of the storefront windows are minimally covered which still provide full views into the space. There are only two areas of the storefront in which Alexander McQueen is requesting to conceal the full window, in the front here and the side here. And this is due to the fact that the view into the space in these areas is already being concealed by other interior elements. So back to the front view. On the front facade, there's a small portion of glazing here that is currently being concealed by an existing interior wall behind the glazing. And then on the side facade here, due to the limited amount of solid wall space throughout the sales area, the back of one of the brand's essential millwork display shelves, which is here, would have been exposed to the public eye. So Alexander McQueen has proposed to cover these two areas with full height graphics as a design solution to shield the customer's sight from any unappealing views. So I'll go back to the full graphics once again. So these graphics on the side here and here, as you can see, you can still see fully into the store, and it's just this window here and this window here on the end that are being fully covered. And as this is a temporary store location, these graphics will only remain in place for the duration of the store's lifespan. And that's basically the extent of the exterior, the proposed exterior design that we are requesting approval for. A little simpler than the previous
Can you give us the dimensions of the storefronts?
Yep, that's on here. We have all the dimensions of everything, of all the.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and all of these windows here are less than we did the calculations for LPC, and all of these graphics on these windows cover less than 20% of the glazing. So these ones do comply with LPC. It's just these fully covered ones that we are requesting approval for.
And this is a temporary location, correct?
Yes, it is.
How long?
We anticipate them to be there for approximately a year, and then they have a larger location further down at 600 Madison that they'll be opening. To the other one, this is the front.
All right, thank you. If that's the presentation, it's fairly straightforward. We'll want to see if there's anyone from the public who has a comment.
Yeah, if you are from the public and you'd like to make a comment or ask a question about this application, please use the reactions icon to find the raise hand button and pop your hand up so we can call on you. Seeing as we don't have a whole lot of members of the public, I don't think you're going to have anyone.
Yeah, well, let's take the committee going in reverse order, please.
All right, let's start with Marco Tamayo.
Thank you. To tell you the truth, I think it's a good contribution, even though that is temporary. My impression is the idea, it fits with the character of the commercial district. The main idea is to create multiple forms, create a cacophony of shape and forms that incentivate to make more expenses. And this temporary, it looks from my point of view, I think it's perfectly fine. Thank you. And thank you for the presentation, very short.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Marco. We're going to move up to Anthony Cohn. Anthony,
I'm here. It's I thought you were going to get to Abraham first, so I wasn't ready to hit my unmute. It's temporary. It's fine. I think the temporary quality of it is the temporary quality kind of removes any questions that someone might have. I'm not even sure if I have any. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Alita Camp.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I went to the Alexander McQueen exhibit at the Met, and the level of craftsmanship that he exhibited, no pun, was extraordinary. So I'd have to say, in light of that, covering up the window, there must be some other solution. It drags down the block. I like the tension of what you've done, the graphics on the other windows, but I don't know, that big section of black bothers me. And I love walking up and down Madison Avenue. I think I've done it 5 times in the last week or been on the bus, but I have a lot of trouble with that. Thank you.
So thank you.
All right. We have Michelle Birnbaum.
Yeah, thank you. You're all better men than I am because I'm not quite sure I'm looking at what I'm looking at. So I have some questions.
Okay.
So what you're referring to is the decal. Is
Yes.
only the black surround? Is that correct?
Yes, it's a matte black vinyl on the windows.
On the exterior of the window?
It's mounted on the interior of the window.
Okay, so that's the decal. And
Yes.
the irregular biomorphic shapes is the actual glazing, correct?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And so what we're looking at on that glazing is the interior furniture of the store.
Yes. Without any of the actual merchandise shown, there will be
correct.
Things on the
Okay, so
shelves.
I wanted to be sure. I wanted to be sure what that was. I don't know. What are the kinds of dimensions like of this the first one to the left, which seems to be the largest one?
This one's actually
13 and a half by 8 by 13. Am I reading 8 by 13?
So this one here, in the front facade, there's an existing wall behind here. That's why they also have the vinyl
Yeah,
on
no,
this
I'm
window.
talking about the dimension of the glazing. So that's 8, am I reading it? 8 and a half, 8, 11, almost 9 by 13. Is that right?
For
correct.
Just with, okay, sorry, got it.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I don't see any lighting anywhere, and I don't see any signage. So how are you proposing to afford this location identification?
So in terms of lighting, there will be kind of lighting set back behind the window that will allow them to show product in those openings, as well as the furniture that you'll see beyond.
Interior lighting? I'm sorry.
Interior lighting.
Okay, okay.
Yep, nothing on the exterior. And then they will be doing some branded, graphics and things, but set back from the restrictions of the Landmarks Commission. So there will be, you'll be able to see product and branding through the windows.
The branding will be on a sign, let's say a bronze, or will it be lettering on the window? I'm curious, why isn't that part of this application? I think it's significant.
So the signage is actually set back a significant distance from the window. It will be, there will be signs, like metal signs, but they will be set back a significant distance that are not under the jurisdiction of the landmarks.
So you mean they're interior?
They're interior, behind the glass, correct.
Interiors. I know a lot happens with interior signage, because I'm not saying it'll be the case with yours, but if you go around the city, you see a lot of interior signage that would otherwise break all rules. Well, I guess this is okay. A lot of light is going to be coming from the interior. Will the store lights remain on, or only the interior designated lights for the windows? at night, etc.?
Yeah, there will be lighting controls that will, bring the lights down, appropriate for the time of day and whether or not the store is open or closed. All lights will not be on all night long.
So you'll do the interior lights, but the lights that are meant to illuminate the window will be on all night. Can you give us a concept of how bright they are or how many fixtures there are?
I think there's just a few track heads on each of the windows. It's not a lot, and they'll be aimed, back into the store, not out onto the street. So they're just meant to illuminate, if they put a mannequin or a bag on display, to just illuminate that product.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Gail Barron.
I actually find the design very interesting because Steve McQueen is known for his creativity and called kind of the king of cool. So I do like the shapes. It seems to fit with his type of merchandise and his design style. So I have no issue supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Gail. And then next we have Elizabeth Ashby.
Yes, I will support this because mercifully, it is temporary. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Next is Kim Selway.
Thank you. I can also support this, not just because it's temporary, but knowing Alexander McQueen's brand identity, this is pretty tame compared to the other iconography. So yeah, thank you for the presentation and for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. And last, Abraham, and then our co-chairs.
I can also support this. I think it's temporary. It's it is the one dark window, which I think in the context of everything else that's being done would be a minimal impact. So I will support this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jane and David.
Well, I guess I'll go before David. It's hard for me to equate Steve McQueen, a true giant in the world of fashion, to bring it down to product and branding. So I feel so sad that now we're associating Steve McQueen with product and branding. I will support the application. I think it's kind of unusual, and I admire the brand for coming forward to us with such an outre presentation. So I will fully support.
Thank you very much.
I also will support it. It's a little bit unique, and I think that uniqueness gives some interest as you walk along Madison Avenue. And I think I would support it even if it weren't temporary, but certainly it is. So it's here for a year. So in any event, it sounds like we have a consensus and that we need a resolution.
You have Marco and Gail with their hands up.
Gail?
Gail, go ahead.
I move that we accept the presentation as presented.
Seconded by Marco.
Okay. Please call the roll.
All right, I'm gonna lower hands and unmute everybody and put the vote sheet back up. Hopefully everybody can see it. And unmute. So with that, I'll start at the top. Elizabeth Ashby.
Yes.
Thank you. Gail Barron.
Yes.
Thank you. Michelle.
Yes.
Thank you. Alida.
Yes.
Thank you. Anthony.
Yes.
David.
Yeah.
Jane.
Yes.
Marco.
Yes.
Thank you. And Kim.
Yes.
And Abraham.
Yes.
All right, thank you. That's unanimous.
Okay, Jacqueline, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
That's the last application.
Just the two. Um,
Se prepara. Ya se acabó.
David, did you want to make any additional comments about anything?
No, I don't know whether we have any old business or new business. I leave it up to you to carry forward.
Well, I see Alita has her hand up.
Okay, the
Alita.
only thing I did want to do, and you probably want to do the same thing, and I don't want to lose the moment, is just to thank our committee for, I think, a lot of hard work and a lot of insights and a lot of caring.
Definitely. And I think it's been really, we've had so many interesting applications over the past few months. And we're becoming such experts on many different architects and styles and streetscapes. It's thrilling to me, and it's nice to see Abraham here. Abraham, are you considering joining our committee?
I am taking an interest all around. So yes, you will be seeing more of me.
Oh, great. Okay, wonderful. Okay. Alita, was your hand up for a reason? Yes. Okay.
Oh, thank you. I didn't realize I was unmuted. I just wanted to point out that the Historic Districts Council, I'm on their email list, and they're talking about supporting scenic landmarks. So I'm sorry, this annoying thing about getting muted. Anyway, they're talking about supporting scenic landmarks. And even though I guess Central Park would fall into a landmark that's already protected, I just wonder if it's something that is worth putting our voice out there for, is that the Landmarks Preservation Commission, which according to HDC used to be much more active in supporting designations of scenery, is less so now. And they're calling for a renewed interest and enthusiasm from the Landmarks Preservation Commission. That's all.
I'm for that.
What do you, I'm not sure what is this just a point of information, Elizabeth?
Well, it's.
Sorry about that, Alita. I was going through the roll.
Thanks, Will. It's maybe next month we could just take it up as an item of business, is whether we want to throw some support behind HDC and ask LPC to be more supportive of designating scenery or scenic areas as landmarks.
It's so hard for me to wrap my arms around that. I understand Central Park, but you know, most of the Upper East Side west of Lexington is already within a historic district. So we're so lucky. I mean, as you know, we also have more individual landmarks than any other community board district in the city.
Well, I guess it's not.
But you want us to sort of in a generic way throw our support in.
I think we'd have to bring it to the board, because I think it would want to be a board.
Yes.
Support.
Well, I'm testing the waters with my little feet at this moment. They're not that little, actually, but I'm testing the waters to see if anyone is potentially interested in that. And then next month, if they are, maybe we could raise it as a resolution and bring it to the full board. There's no urgency, as far as I know, that something is deteriorating or in danger of being torn down for a skyscraper. But I think it would be nice to just ask for more attention. And there are other areas in the city too, such as in the other boroughs, in less affluent neighborhoods, landmarking things for history. But that's another discussion. So just raising it. We could talk about it next time, or you could think about it as you stroll New York in this winter wonderland.
Thank you, Alita. The conscience of our board. I see Michelle has her hand up. Michelle.
I think we should examine it, and if we can support it, do that, because one of the things coming up is the examination, and frighteningly, in the City of Yes proposal. There's going to be more and more looking at and perhaps threatening historic districts. And I think it would be a really good idea to ask the Landmarks Preservation Commission to get more involved. And I don't see how that could hurt. Of course, it could only hurt depending on who's on the Landmarks Preservation Commission. But I think it's important that this board make a statement that we're interested in preserving, you know, vistas and maybe plazas that surround. We have to take a look more carefully to see, and maybe we could have the resolution. Alita, did you say somebody?
Michelle, before we continue, could you give a specific example?
Yes. There's under consideration a completely revamping of the Park Avenue Mall. The history of Park Avenue and the Park Avenue Mall goes back to the late 1800s. It is steeped in history. It came to be while covering the railroad. You can go to the designation.
Well, I think we're aware of the history, Michelle, but
well, that's my reason.
Well,
one of my reasons.
Did you hear that there's going to be maybe a revamping of the Park Avenue Mall?
It is a proposal that has been in the newspapers, but has not been, a date hasn't been put on it, but they are looking at it. And one article even mentioned that they're thinking of maybe amusements on the mall, games on the mall. You go back and research some news articles and see what you find. I can tell you I didn't come up with this out of my hat. So all I'm saying is it may not be imminent, but you asked me for a reason, and that's one of my reasons. I don't think it hurts to look into this. I think it could only help us.
Well, we have the Park Avenue Historic District, so
thanks to me.
We know that. Thank you, Michelle. However, if somebody's coming up with a proposal, it's going to have to come to us. The other side of the coin is that you're suggesting letting it off at the pass. And maybe if you can find an article or two and send it to the committee as a whole, then that would be potentially helpful.
Elizabeth.
Yes, I just want to point out, we don't have to really worry about the Park Avenue malls. They're paid for and supported by the buildings along the mall, because apparently, this was before I lived in New York, but they kind of fell apart. But the program was developed, I think, in the 60s to plant the malls and all the buildings along it supported. And however interesting they are, and I think they're a great addition to the city, they are not historic, because that was an open railway before it was closed. So there isn't a long history there. Thank you.
Alita.
Thank you. There is, though, proposals within the city of Yes, giant proposal involving historic districts. Do you think when it's up for discussion in January, either at land use or full board, that Jane, you or David could summarize it in a simple way for everyone to understand, so we know exactly what they're talking about, and if it seems appropriate to be able to include that in whatever the board is saying about that proposal?
Well, Liz, I actually looked at the summary that Russell sent around. Did anybody else look at it? Russell sent around a summary. Nobody read it. Well,
part of it.
You know, Alita, I really have to bow out of doing a summary of the city of Yes proposal.
No, not the whole thing, just about how it relates to the historic.
I didn't see anything in Russell's summary. I looked at it for that reason, to see if there was anything specific to historic districts or height limits or anything.
It has to do, I think, with the transfer of air rights. And the reason I'm a little one of the reasons I think that is because I looked at parts of the report, but also because I testified at some city hearing on this, and the person after me was one of the attorneys at one of the powerhouse land use firms. I think it was someone from Fried Frank or Kramer Levin, one of those types of firms, and asked for asked for that specifically about the transfer of air rights in historic districts, which makes me think that if they're looking for it, it's something that we need to examine and weigh in on. It may be innocuous, but given the strength and the power of those firms and who they represent, and they have really great lawyers, I just am a little cautious about it. So I don't know, but I just would ask if someone does know, if they could tell the board what it's about so we could weigh in.
David, did you want to comment on that?
I think that we need maybe somebody to volunteer to take a look and see if there's I mean, apparently in Russell, I did take a quick look at Russell's stuff, and but apparently you looked at it even more carefully than I did. I think that there are people on this committee who've been looking at it pretty carefully. If there is something in there, as Alita points out, that we should be looking at, maybe you can find it, Alita, or somebody else, and distribute it to us. So at least we have a starting point.
Anthony, are you volunteering? We're accepting your.
Yes, I'm volunteering.
I just find that I looked at Russell's summary, and I was specifically looking for air rights, etc. I have many issues, in fact, with the city of Yes. First of all, its name, the city of Yes. I think most of the proposals deal with zoning changes, and I think that they deal with sort of the outer boroughs more than they deal with the densely. Alita's shaking her head.
Alita's right. It's more in it. I don't know how to say this. I'll say it badly. It pretends to be a lot about the outer boroughs, but the real estate fact of the matter is that the money is here
in Manhattan,
and on Community District 8 and Community District 7 in particular. And I think it makes sense for us to look at it, not just at what the proposals are on their face, but to frankly try and imagine what could be done with new zoning, even in historic districts.
Well, Anthony, what I would really like is and I appreciate that you've stepped up to the plate, some specific examples.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, that's what I'll do.
Because that's what I want to get my arms around instead of the generalities we keep hearing about. And it's when I say the outer boroughs, because when I look through there, a lot of it seemed to be for, converting basements to habitable living spaces. Now, I know some of it does relate to some of our storefronts, not so much within historic districts, but on the other avenues like second and third, and making it easier for people to rent properties or rent retail spaces or whatever. So if you do a summary, it would just be great if we could one or two more concrete examples than were in the summary that Russell sent around.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I know it's going to be extra work for you, Anthony.
Well, he'll see it as an extension of his role as a co-chair of the zoning committee, correct?
Because it is mostly zoning.
Yes. I think we should all be afraid of the zoning changes proposed. The new height limits for even the new height limit for R8 that's beyond this committee, but the new height limits proposed for R8B are in fact will achieve their purpose, which is to create more new housing. It will be more new market rate housing largely, but it will create more new housing. And But anyway, that's a discussion for another committee. But I will look in particular for specific examples related to landmark districts, and because I think the danger is there, even if it doesn't on the surface appear to be.
Okay, I'm hoping we can wrap this up soon since David and I have to write our resolutions. Elizabeth.
Yes, from everything that I've read in and about the city of Yes, it's the city's thinking at its worst because it comes up with things that you want, say affordable housing, everybody's for that, but they never think of the consequences. And I think that that's where City of Yes, from my reading, sounds good, objectives good, results terrible. And I think that all of our committees are going to have to work together because there are joint interests between a great many of these proposals. But I think it's maybe the thing we should really do first is to ask them to slow it down because it's a huge proposal and give people time. It certainly never involves the community and it never considers what's going to happen when you do these things. So I think it needs a lot of thought, a lot of investigation, and we should ask them to. And the housing proponent doesn't come into effect anyway, under consideration till later next year anyhow. So, but I think we're on the right track here.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Marco?
Thank you. I think pretty much I saw and I review 1,100 pages. That's the proposal. And the most damaging is in RAB and R10 and the densities. But the point is, I never find out anything about landmarks. And I think I found a paragraph that they saying that they prefer to refer everything to landmarks. So what we had to do a good research is what the landmark is preparing in that direction. Because the city of Yes, which is zoning, it has to deal with just part of the zoning, not with the landmark or historical districts or landmark buildings. It has to do directly with zoning. But landmarks, that's, I think, is our research, and that we had to pinpoint in that direction to see what they are planning, what is their goals, what is their intention. And with that, I think I prefer do not comment anything in the city of Yes in landmarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm looking for a raised hand that says those three wonderful words. Michelle.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there a second? I see there is. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. David is right. Everyone on our committee works so hard and cares so much about our wonderful city. Thank you. We'll see you all on Wednesday in person.
Well, it will be a very quick landmark session on Wednesday.
Yes, because somebody will ask to take them together and they were both unanimous.
Right.
Thank you again. And thank you, Will, for taking care of us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for letting me tag along. It's good to see everyone.
Okay.